Good evening, folks. We're about to start, but before we start, we need to have a little rehearsal. This is a live radio show, as you know, and in the live radio shows in days gone by, we always had an applause sign. So, when that sign goes on, and when it goes off, you can stop. Now, for you folks at home, I want to make sure you understand that we have a very small, very safe, and very enthusiastic audience of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people, fully masked. Our windows are open, so you don't have to worry about them. They're not going to worry about you. I do want to remind some of you, if you are at least my age, which some of you might be, for those of you who are at home, it might seem silly applauding at home, but you all remember seeing Peter Pan on television, right? And there was that wonderful moment when Peter Pan looked right at the camera and said, "Do you believe in fairies? If you believe in fairies, clap." And Tinkerbell was dying. So I want all of you at home who are watching this you applaud too. When that sign goes on, whether you believe in fairies or not. So, welcome. Here's our show. Welcome to another installment of the Lake Mahkeenac Radio Theater, coming to you live from the First Congregational Church in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. Our show is a little different this evening than it has been in the past. If you've been here before, you know we offer some stories, a few jokes, and always beautiful singing. But as you may know, singers are now infamous disease vectors, so singing has been officially banned here in Massachusetts. Maybe you've seen those visuals with the little tiny dots representing virus particles. Speakers have a few little dots, and those who speak loudly have a few more, but the singers are spitting out Housatonic rivers full of virus every time they open their mouths. So singing is a thing of the past. In fact, most of my singer pals are in singer's prison even as we speak. But we still have songs to share, so I've asked an old friend to help us remedy this problem. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Rex Harrison. Good evening, Rex. Long time no see. In fact, I'm kind of surprised to see you. I thought you were dead.
Oh, goodness, no. I retired, of course. Bought a little farm down the road in Tyringham. They're big Anglophiles down there. I've been raising goats. You can never have enough mohair, right? Plus, I've been working on my memoirs.
But you came out of retirement just for us?
Not just for you. No. There's a big demand for my services now that all the singers are locked up. Not everyone can deliver a song without singing. I'm making a bundle.
Well, good for you. Tell you what, let's give it a shot. We got to start with our theme song. Maestro?
Come on in, set a spell. When you're with me, I'm living well. Have some coffee, have a beer. It's so sweet to have you here. Boy, oh boy, me oh my. How about a slice of pie? We've got songs to sing and stories to tell. When we're together, we're living well.
Thanks, Rex. That was lovely. Now, you may all remember this show has always been a fundraiser for this beautiful church, First Congregational, right here in Stockbridge. We can't have many paying customers here in the sanctuary, so we're asking you to donate online. You are already at stockbridgeucc.org/radio theater and follow the signs where it says donate now. Any amount is most welcome, but if you have the big bucks, put them right where they will do a world of good to keep this old roof over our heads and to support the many charitable programs of this congregation. And if you're hosting a listening party, don't forget to pony up for each and every one in your party. Now, despite the restrictions imposed on us by the end of the world as we know it, we still want to assure you that all are welcome here. And there's no one better equipped to provide that welcome than the minister in charge here at First Congregational, our welcomer-in-chief, the Reverend Brent Damrow. Good evening, Brent. How you doing? Still healthy?
Healthy and well, thanks.
I know you always say everyone is welcome here, and I know you mean it. But tonight we decided to put you to the test. Right now, everyone who is anyone is leaving the city and moving to the countryside. So I got a few newcomers together, told me they might be interested in joining the church family here. Ready?
Ready.
Well, first up is a Miss Lizzie Borden. Brent, meet Miss Borden. Miss Borden, Reverend Damrow. Miss Borden just moved here from Fall River. She's an orphan, so she doesn't really have any family ties there anymore. In fact, rumor has it that Lizzie Borden took an axe.
Excuse me, sir. I never want to hear that ditty again. As you must know, I was acquitted. Repeating an old rumor is not the action of a Christian.
Well, okay. What brings you here, Miss Borden?
Well, I'm looking for somewhere to get a fresh start, get away from small-minded gossip. Plus, I inherited an interest in a small farm implements shop.
Farm implements?
Actually, more like an old-fashioned tinker's shop. You know, sharpening saws, hatchets, that kind of thing.
Uh-huh. And what do you hope to find here at the church?
Well, I'm good with old people. Maybe they need some comfort and consolation before they go to meet their maker. I know I could be helpful in that regard.
Lots of possibilities there. Brent, is Miss Borden welcome here?
Absolutely. Welcome aboard, Lizzie.
Next up, we have a Mr. Vlad Dracul, who just moved here from Wallachia. Vlad is a retired politician, isn't that right? His nickname when he was the supreme overlord of Wallachia was Vlad the Impaler. Brent, Vlad. Vlad, Brent.
Pleased to meet you.
Impaler, huh? You did lots of impaling? What's the story?
Oh, well, it was what we did back in the day to remind citizens of their responsibilities to the Supreme Overlord. But I've moved on. It was all so messy.
What brings you here to the Berkshires?
Peace and quiet. So many trees. Maybe I'll buy a little store or something and maybe help Miss Borden in her enterprise if she's interested.
And here at church?
Well, I hope to sit quietly in the back row and learn how to be merciful. But I could also help out in Sunday school. If the children get rowdy, I know how to restore order.
Amen to that. Brent, is Vlad the Impaler welcome here?
Absolutely. Mercy is as mercy does.
Now, here's someone you might remember, Brent. I'd like to introduce you to a Miss Cruella DeVille. Cruella, meet Reverend Damrow.
My pleasure.
Now, Cruella, you describe yourself as a furrier. What kind of furs do you sell? Like mink or something?
Oh, God, no. I deal in much more exotic fur.
Might be a hard sell around here in western Massachusetts. Lots of animal activists, you know, fur is dead, that kind of thing.
Oh, pish tush. When they get the feel of a coat like mine, they'll sing a different tune.
So, Cruella, why the Berkshires? Why now?
Well, it's just so innocent here, so pure to look around. I see families playing in the yard with their children and their pets. Their pets playing in the yard, just out there, all alone, unguarded. It's just so innocent, so simple. Am I right?
Well, better not to ask. Cruella, what might you like to find here at the church if you join up?
Church? Oh, I don't know. Customers, connections of various kinds. Do you bless the animals here? I could help bless the animals.
Okay, all right, Brent. Is Miss Cruella DeVille welcome here?
Well, yes, all are welcome, but we do have a safe church policy, so as long as we observe that, yeah, sure. Welcome, Cruella.
Finally, Brent, we have a Mr. Wayne Newton, who just moved here from Las Vegas. Wayne, meet Reverend Damrell.
Hiya. How you doing? Thanks a lot, or as I might put it, Dankeschön.
Wait. No singing.
darling.
No singing.
Singing, that's what I do.
Oh, okay. Rex?
Danke Shane. Danke Shane.
Thanks, Rex. Okay, Wayne, you want in? What do you hope to find here at First Congregational?
Well, you have a choir, right? I can sing. I want some red.
No singing, Rex.
I want some red roses for a blue lady. Mr. Florist, take my order, please.
Lovely. But Wayne, do you know any hymns?
No hymns. How about Tiny Bubbles? I know Tiny Bubbles.
Tiny bubbles in the wine.
Enough. Brent, do you want to extend a big First Congregational welcome to Wayne Newton?
Maestro, what do you think? Can we use Wayne in the choir? Wayne, let me get back to you. You know what? I'll pray on it, and then maybe we'll call you back.
Dankeschön.
And there you have it, folks. The First Congregational Church in Stockbridge. Almost everyone is welcome here. Thanks, Brent. Stay safe. This portion of your show is brought to you by Forever Autumn. Fall in New England. What could be more beautiful? The reds, the golds. Problem is, it seems like it's over all too quickly. But not anymore. Forever Autumn will change all that. Forever Autumn is a strong and only mildly toxic fixative which, when sprayed on your trees, makes the autumn foliage last almost forever. Just imagine.
Oh, look, honey, I thought we were too late, but just look at those trees. Here it is, almost Thanksgiving, and the trees are still so beautiful.
Kind of magical, isn't it, darling?
Well, other people
are raking, leaf blowing, and cursing, and you're sitting pretty. Forever Autumn is a clear, odorless product. Just spray it on your trees under the cover of night, and nobody will know your secret.
Why are the trees here at All Ablaze Bed and Breakfast still so gorgeous? I wonder.
I know, honey. I know what you're thinking.
Oh, Jeff, do you? Mm-hmm. Oh, let's chuck it all, darling. Let's leave our mad rat race life in the city and buy this place. We could have our own bed and breakfast right here in the Berkshires.
Oh, Karen, let's. We could name it something magical.
Like something out of the Lord of the Rings, like the last homely house with all those golden trees. We'll name it
Rivendell.
Ka-ching! The place is sold. No more getting up at 5 a.m. to make fresh blueberry scones for ungrateful guests. No more hypoallergenic pillows. You're free. The leaves will come down eventually. A couple of days of sub-zero weather and there'll be a sodden mess all over the picturesque snowbanks. But never mind, you'll be strolling the links in Sarasota.
The autumn leaves stay on the trees. And when they're down, you'll be long gone.
Now, if you haven't yet sent us a donation, you can do so at any time. If you're at Stockbridge UCC, just go to the Donate Now button. Let's take a peek to see how we're doing. To keep us up to the minute on our donations tonight, I'd like to introduce Church Treasurer Margaret Griswold. Margaret, how are we doing so far?
Well, so far we have $49.57. Some of that total comes from a donation of $9.57 from Mary Claire Bennett, who writes, I decided to give all the change in the change dish on my dresser. I thought it would come to about $50, but it only came to $9.57, which I'm sending along to you. Good luck. Thank you, Mary Claire. And a gift of $25 comes from Janet Holmes, who writes, I am giving $25 in honor of actor Chris Brophy. I am so sorry I broke your heart in 7th grade, Chris. I hope this donation in your honor wipes the slate clean and now we can be friends.
Wow, we're cooking. Chris, what do you say? Can you forgive Janet?
No. She needs to give more. My heart does not come cheap.
Well, okay. Thanks so much, Janet, but all is not yet forgiven. Now, Margaret, tell us, what will the church do with that $49.57 received so far?
As I see it, at our current rate of energy use, this would allow us to heat the church office to a temperature of 41 degrees, at least through January, weather depending, of course. Alternately, we could support our local pantry program by feeding 6 hungry children for about 11 days, if they only eat rice and beans, of course. So we're off to a roaring start.
Roaring it is. Thanks, Margaret. We'll check in a little later for an update. Let's have a round of applause for Church Treasurer Margaret Griswold. Well, folks, this is the part of the show when we would have some beautiful singing, but as I said at the top of the show, singing is now banned in Massachusetts. We were planning to have our old friend Nellie Rustick, whose operatic career was on a meteoric upward trajectory until last March, when she was arrested on stage during her debut performance of Tosca. So we will soldier on without her.
Wait, I want to sing. Wait, I'm here, I want to sing.
Nellie? Is that you? I thought you were in the Who's-Gow.
I was, but we busted out. We put on the uncut 5.5 version of Boris Godunov for all the guards, and by hour 4, they were fast asleep.
Jeepers, it's so good to see you, even if you are on the lam. Want to sing a couple of numbers for us? How about Visi Darte? I heard you were just about to sing it when the troopers closed in.
Oh my God, what a scene. I already had the knife in my hand, and I was about to stab Scarpia on stage, so that led to a little unpleasantness during my arrest. Can I sing it? I would love to.
Maestro, how about a little Puccini for the folks at home?
Hey, Maestro, shall we do one more? Times have changed, and we've often wound the clock since the Puritans got a shock when they landed on Plymouth Rock. If today any shock they would try to stem, instead of landing on Plymouth Rock would land on them. In olden days, a glimpse of stocking was looked down as something shocking. Now heaven knows anything goes. Good authors too, who once knew better words, now only use four-letter words, writing prose. Anything goes. The world has gone mad today, and good's bad today, black's white today, day's a night today, when most guys today that women prize today are just silly gigolos. So though I'm not a great romancer, I know that you're bound to answer when I propose. Anything goes. Anything goes. Anything goes. The world has gone mad today, and good's bad today, and black's white today, day's a night today, when most guys today that women prize today are just silly gigolos. So though I'm not a great romancer, I know that you're bound to answer when I propose. Anything goes. Anything goes. Anything goes.
So good to see you, Nellie. So good to see you.
This is radio station KCOW, the voice of Calumet County in the heart of America's Dairyland. WCOW is your sweet spot for agribusiness news, weather, and all things bovine. We now return you to Morning Chit Chat with Big Jim Benke.
Go on, caller. I'm with you.
1 cup of flour
1 cup of flour.
and a teaspoon of cardamom and a teaspoon of nutmeg. That's it.
A tablespoon of cardamom and a teaspoon of nutmeg. Okay, caller. Sounds delicious. I'll get Marie right on it in the test kitchen. For those of you just joining us, this is Morning Chit Chat with Big Jim Benke, brought to you by the Kewaskum Market, where friendly people make friendly sausage. As you might know, Tuesday is recipe day, and right now we're trying out yet another recipe for Apple Brown Betty. Seem to have a run on it these days. But hey, you can never have enough Apple Brown Betty. Now, caller, tell us where you got this unusual recipe.
Well, that's the best part. I got it from outer space.
What? Whoa, from outer space? What's the deal?
Well, I was walking over to my neighbor's after dinner one evening to return her bunt pan. My daughter-in-law borrowed mine, and you know I love that girl, but once you lend her something, you might as well just kiss it goodbye. I finally gave up on my favorite little garden trowel after she took that.
Okay, neither a borrower nor a lender be, I always say. But what about outer space?
Well, I was walking on the path on the way to my neighbor's, and all of a sudden, I felt warm all over. A beautiful, delicious feeling like a nice bubble bath. And then I felt a force pulling me backwards and then up, and I started floating in the air. And I just went up, and then I saw this big dish in the sky, and I realized I was being pulled toward it.
Holy moly, a flying saucer?
Well, it was more like a big pizza pan. It looked like a big flat plate on the bottom, but when I got close, I just went whoosh and went right through the plate and ended up in a beautiful living room with comfortable furniture.
What? Weren't there electric control panels and screens and stuff?
Nope, just a big room with overstuffed furniture, very soft and comfy like my grandma used to have. There were coffee tables and beanbag ashtrays and vases full of roses. It was so sweet.
But the aliens? Were there aliens?
Oh, yes, indeed. They were so nice. They started talking, and of course I couldn't understand a word they said, so they switched to English just like that.
What did they look like?
Well, they're kind of funny looking. They have one big eyes thing where your forehead would be, and a tube that seems like a kind of mouth, and hands with 8 fingers of all different sizes, and their skin is kind of, well, nubbly, like oatmeal, blue oatmeal. But you get used to all that pretty quick.
Were they wearing clothes? Gosh, I hope they weren't in their birthday suits.
Well, that's the funny thing. They were wearing shirtwaist dresses, and one had a kilt with a cute kilt pin and a blouse with a Peter Pan collar, like clothes from the 50s, and their hair. I mean, I think it was all wigs, but they had cute bobs and pixie cuts, like having coffee with Doris Day and her friends.
But what about the guys? What were they wearing?
Oh, there were no guys. I guess they're all one sex since they were all wearing dresses and stuff. I think they're all ladies.
Huh. What are these gals up to? Plucking up earthlings just like you pluck a ripe gooseberry.
Well, here's the thing. They were on vacation. They go all over the galaxies looking around and having fun, and they like to go native, I guess. They like to wear fashions and try the food and just get into the spirit of the place they're visiting, like if you went to Hawaii and wore a muumuu. And they like to meet people. It's like that. So we sat there and talked and talked. They were just laughing and smoking their cigarettes.
They smoke cigarettes?
They love cigarettes. They favor Newport menthols, God knows why. But we sat and laughed and talked, and they wanted to hear jokes.
Jokes?
They love Earth jokes. They go all over collecting jokes. I told them that dumb old joke about the Hungarian piano tuner, and they laughed so hard, one of them almost swallowed her cigarette.
Were you scared?
Not in the least. Oh, they were so sweet. And they collect recipes from everyone they abduct, I guess. So they shared this recipe for Apple Brown Betty. They got it years ago on some planet, but they changed the ingredients to use things I could get at the market.
So they're just scooting around, wearing their old smocks and trading jokes and recipes?
Yep, but they needed to get going after a while. They were on their way out to South Dakota to the Corn Palace, so they sort of air-kissed me with their face tube things and let me back down. And there I was, back on the path, and they were off.
Well, I never heard of such a thing. Caller, that is just the most amazing story. Well, as you can imagine, the switchboard is lighting up like a Christmas tree here. So I'm going to take a few more calls. I'm going to put you on hold. Don't go away. Go ahead, caller.
Holy cow, Big Jim. Are you the most gullible person on the face of God's green earth or what?
Oh, hi, Nardo. Quite a story, huh?
Well, let me fill you in here, you big old boob. That caller is Agnes Schmidlkoffer. She's some shirt tail relation, a second cousin twice removed or something, and she can't cook to save her life.
How do you know?
I've been to family reunions with her. She's nice and all. Not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but she's okay. But what she cooks, she always brings the same pork and zucchini hot dish, and when she's not looking people to give it to, she's not looking, the people give it to the dogs, and even the dogs turn tail and run.
So, now she's got a better recipe, right? It's all good.
From aliens? She made it all up. She's just trying to get a little attention, and besides, everyone knows aliens aren't like that.
How do you know?
That guy, Bob something, that got abducted a few years ago by Brownsville, he said it was terrifying. He got the probes, and I don't want to say where. He never recovered from the fright. Aliens are our enemies, man. We need to focus on that.
Well, these aliens aren't. They seem kind of nice. Maybe it's because these ones are all girls. They just want to have a little coffee clutch with the Earth ladies.
Yeah, they get real friendly before they start experimenting on you.
Well, wait, Nardo. Your relative wants back in here. Hello, caller? Agnes, is it?
Yes, it is. I can't believe you're listening to that big bully. What does he know?
Agnes, please, you can't cook, and everybody knows it. Stop trying to put one over on these nice folks.
Reinhard Bauer, you have no idea what my life is like. You never stopped to listen to me, not even once. And if you did, you wouldn't remember. What with all that bourbon you're guzzling, and your own wife told me she loved my hot dish.
Leave her out of this. She'd tell you she loved it if it were actually poisonous. She is a saint.
She's got to be a saint to put up with you.
Okay, hold on. Both of you pipe down a minute. I'm the boss here, and if you can't be neighborly, I'm hanging up on the both of you.
Oh, Big Jim, it's so mean. Why does everybody on Earth have to be so mean? I want to go off to the Corn Palace with my outer space friends and never come back. What's the point in trying to be nice?
Oh, now, Agnes. Nardo is, well, he's Nardo. He's a blowhard, but he's our blowhard.
Blowhard? Now wait just a doggone minute.
Tell you what, Agnes, do you have any proof?
Proof? Of course I have proof. My friends gave me a recipe card for my card file, and they signed it on the back. To Agnes, our new BFF, it says, and they all signed it. I took it right to the FBI to have it analyzed. I mean, the alien ladies probably don't have DNA, but maybe they have 3NA or something. I'm still waiting to get it back. Last time I called the feds, they seemed real somber and started talking about national security and everything, so I guess it's the real deal.
See, Nardo? She has proof.
Oh, yeah, and she'll never get the card back, and it will be another big mystery. And the fact she never got it back will just be part of the story. That's not proof.
Tell you what, you say she can't cook, right?
Ooh, boy, it's well known.
So if we taste this recipe right now, and if it's any good, she must be telling the truth, right? You say she can't cook, but if she can now, she must have had some serious help, right?
Well, maybe.
I'm calling it. Marie's got it out of the oven right now. Let's try it. Ooh, Lordy, is that good. I've never tasted anything like it. It's so unusual and so delicious. I'm ready to swear this apple brown Betty is out of this world. Agnes, if you ever see your girlfriends again, send them over to my place.
Oh, I will, Big Jim. You'll love them, I promise.
Nardo, an apology would be good right about now.
If it tastes that good and Agnes cooked it, it's got to be some kind of miracle.
Well, Agnes, that's about as much as you're going to get from him. Okay, who said being a radio host was easy? I'm pooped, but it's time for us to go anyhow. Stay tuned for today's agribusiness report, brought to you, as always, by Cash Cow's Breeding Service. A big thanks to Marie, as always, for her good cooking, and thanks to our sponsor, the Kewaskum Market. Say it with me now, where friendly people make friendly sausage. Wait, what's that, Marie? The joke? You never heard that one? There was this family. They had a funky old piano, and they could never get it to sound good. But then they found this Hungarian piano tuner, Mr. Abernakity, and he came and he made it sound like $1 million. And then 6 months later, it was going bad again, and they called him to come back, but he said no. They cried and begged, but he said no, he wouldn't do it again. And you know how come? Agnes, how come Mr. Abernakity wouldn't come back?
Because Abernakity only tunes once.
Ay, God bless, folks. See you tomorrow. Okay, people, it's time to check in and see how our fundraising is going. Once again, we turn to the woman with the head for figures, Margaret Griswold. Margaret?
Now we have a total of $204.57. That includes a generous gift of $20 from Mike Sanford, who identifies himself as your ex-brother-in-law. He writes, "I will double my gift if you tell that host to shut up."
Ouch.
And Janet Holmes, Chris Brophy's childhood sweetheart, raised her donation to $40. She writes, "Chris, I am trying to make amends. This is my final gesture of goodwill. It would mean so much to me if you would tell the world you forgive me for breaking your heart."
No. My heart is for sale, but it's not on sale.
Okay, Janet, we'll just keep trying to soften him up on this end. Meanwhile, folks, keep those donations coming in. Margaret, what can we do with $204.57?
We can pay reduced light bills through Valentine's Day or heat, but not both. I think we can ask the pastor to bundle up.
Let's all pray for a mild winter. Thanks, folks. Keep it coming. Now we're going to take a little break so you can get a beverage or stretch your legs or whatever. And you can take this time to send your donation in. You're at stockbridgeucc.org. You can go hit the Donate Now button during this next song. We're going to ask Rex to help us out during this break. He's going to sing an old familiar tune for us, one I'm sure you'll recognize.
Asked my girl what she wanted to be. She said, "Baby, can't you see? I want to be famous, a star on the screen. But you can do something in between. Baby, you can drive my car. If I'm gonna be a star. Baby, you can drive my car. And maybe I'll love you." Told my girl that my prospects were good. She said, "Baby, it's understood. Working for peanuts is all very fine, but I can show you a better time. Baby, you can drive my car. If I'm gonna be a star. Baby, you can drive my car, and maybe I love you. Beep, 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 yeah." Baby, you can drive my car. If I'm gonna be a star. Baby, you can drive my car, and maybe I love you. told my girl I could start right away. She said, listen, babe, I got something to say. I got no car, and it's breaking my heart. But I got a driver, and that's a start. Baby, you can drive my car. Yes, I'm gonna be a star. Baby, you can drive my car, and maybe I love you. Beep, 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 yeah. Beep, 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 yeah. Beep, 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 yeah. Beep, 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 yeah.
This portion of our show is brought to you by the No Foodie Gourmet Stopper. Has this ever happened to you?
Okay, Mom, I'll be home tomorrow morning and we'll start right in, okay? I'm bringing the fresh caper buds, you know, the ones that are handpicked by Amazonian children. I'll bring the white arugula aioli, and I already made the sourdough farro loaf with the wild hazelnuts, but I need you to pick up the Maltese anchovies.
Oh dear, are those the microscopic little fish that need to be cleaned one at a time?
Yeah, Mom, and they need to be super fresh, so you need to get them yourself.
Well, the last time we did this, it took me 3 hours.
Mom, you're my best little sous chef, right, Mom? It's all worth the effort, remember?
They come, they visit, they cook, and it takes all day and half the night. If your child is a fancy food freak, you'll want to try No Foodie Gourmet Stopper. No Foodie was developed by terrifying scientists working for the U.S. Department of Defense, and it works like this. These scientists identified the brain area responsible for discriminating complex flavors in foods, and they figured out how to turn that doodad right off. Just slip a little No Foodie to your favorite overbearing chef and see what happens.
Here, honey, I made you a little of that Crimean lavender and rosewater tea you like so much. Have a little before we get started.
Oh, thanks, Mom. You remembered. That's good. Now, where were we?
The tiny fish? Gutting the tiny fish?
Oh, never mind. Maybe we could get a hamburger for dinner instead?
No Foodie also works on beer snobs. Just listen.
I'm going out to the liquor store, sweetie. Do you have a specific beer you want? The local Goldenrod Honey Ice Brewed Triple Malt in brown glass 7-ounce bottles? Or something?
I don't know. Just pick up some Coors Light if they have it, whatever.
No Foodie is completely tasteless and harmless. When it wears off, there can be a little rebound effect, so dosage needs to be managed with care.
Mom! Where is the Andalusian cumin powder? We need that right now. The whole thing will be ruined. If I can't find that cumin, someone's gonna pay.
Oh, honey, I'll look for it. Have a little more tea while I hunt it down.
Okay. Well, forget it. Don't bother. Let's just use a garlic salt, a little bit of that. That's just as good.
No Foodie. Save time, save money, save your sanity. From now on, when they come to visit, it's mac and cheese and Colonel Sanders takeout. Put down that peeler, put up your feet, and get ready to catch up on your shows. With No Foodie in your kitchen, all is calm, all is bright.
Gourmet, go away. Come again some other day. No Foodie. And now, Lake Mahkeenac Radio Thespians presents another episode of Yaks Benavides, hippest of the hip.
Well, honoured guests, I hope you enjoyed those lovely Banbury tarts. Let's have a round of applause for the nice people at Bethany's Bites Classic Catering. They take such good care of us. Now, on today's programme, the Entertainment Committee here at Premium Acres Premier Adult Community is proud to present our favourite culture vulture, Yaks Benavides. Yaks is the host of a pop culture podcast, not that I really know what that is, but he hosts one called Yaks. Anyway, he was such a big hit last month when we invited him back this afternoon. Let's have a rousing Premium Acres welcome for Yaks Benavides.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Good afternoon, good people. So kind of you to ask me back. So kind. Now, as I recall, we left our Q&A last month with a number of questions about the Kardashians. So we didn't have time for all of them. I thought maybe we would start there. Any Kardashian questions?
Jax, what exactly are Kardashians?
They are featured players in one of several reality television programs. They're also designers, actresses, and celebrity spokesmodels.
So they're real?
Yes, they certainly are.
Well, I thought someone invented them. You're telling me they actually walk the earth?
Yes, indeedy.
Don't all their names start with K? Didn't Kafka write something about the Kardashians?
No, I don't think so. He died well before they were born, but I'm sure he would write about them if he weren't already dead.
Well, did they change their names, or did someone give them those names?
They were given their names, as far as we know.
Didn't that athlete get mixed up with them? You know, that cute Olympic decathlon guy who is now a woman named Clarissa?
Bruce Jenner, yes, he married into the family when he identified as a man. Now that she identifies as a woman, her name is Caitlyn.
Caitlyn? Why did he do that? Clarissa is a much nicer name.
Well,
I wanted my son to name his daughter Clarissa, but they named her Hamilton instead. Can you imagine? They named her after that Italian Broadway star, Lynn Marie Hamilton.
We went over that a few months back. Lin-Manuel Miranda is a Puerto Rican American. The show he created is called Hamilton.
What? Good grief. It appears that if he had named his show Clarissa, I would have a granddaughter with a decent name. But no.
Okay, any other Kardashian questions?
Did these Kardashians recruit that athlete? Is that why he became a woman? Did they need more Kardashians?
No, apparently he identified as a woman long before he met any Kardashians.
I thought that a Kardashian was some kind of shawl, like a special variety of pashmina. Are you telling me they're people?
They are people.
I heard one of them has a noteworthy caboose.
Yes, that's Kim. She posed on a website displaying it.
What? The shawl or the caboose?
The caboose.
Is that why she's a celebrity of sorts, because of her caboose? Is it unusual?
People think it is well-shaped.
Bell-shaped?
Well-shaped.
Oh, well, my niece has an unusually long neck. Could this be something she could leverage to develop a career in reality television?
I think that depends on what else she has.
These Kardashians, what else do they have?
Personality, a flair for the dramatic, fancy fingernails, lots and lots of hair.
Oh, now I remember. I saw a magazine cover at my hairdresser's that suggested they betray each other. Do they betray each other?
Pretty regularly, I think.
Well, why? Are they Greek? You said they were dramatic. Are they like Clytemnestra or Electra or something, all about revenge?
Yes, something like that.
Where did they go to school? Prep school? College? Where?
They all went to Marymount, a girls' school in Los Angeles. Courtney also graduated from the University of Arizona in Tucson with a major in theater arts.
There's a university in Tucson?
Yes, there is.
Good God. Didn't one of them marry that singer? The one whose mother was a college professor? She can't have been too happy about him marrying, what was her name again?
Kardashian. But the professor in question has passed on. She can't disapprove now.
Oh, I suppose that's why he waited. And their child is named Northwestern, isn't that so? I think that's so sweet. Isn't that where she was a professor?
No.
I hope I die before my Charlie marries that girl he's seeing and she went to Vassar.
I hope so too.
Jax, how do you pronounce Khloe?
Chloe.
But why have the accent aigu if you don't pronounce it correctly? What's the point?
It makes it seem Greek, but also sort of French.
I knew it. I knew they were Greek. By the way, are they leaving the Eurozone?
Who? The Greeks or the Kardashians?
Either. Both. And by the way, is her caboose shaped like a jingle bell, or is it more like the Liberty Bell?
Well, that's a long story, and I'm afraid we're almost out of time. One last question.
Jax, tell me honestly. If you had a favourite Broadway show, would you name your child after it? Like, say, Brigadoon? I mean, if Brigadoon were your absolutely favourite Broadway show, I mean, would you name your daughter Brigadoon?
Well, I'm out of time here. Next month, I'm bringing a special guest, Instagrammulous social influencer Marnie, and we're going to have a debate. Resolved. Gwen and Blake owe it to their millions of fans to live stream the first ultrasound images of their upcoming triplets.
William Blake? I wrote my thesis on William Blake, but I thought...
Bye, everybody.
This is the time of the show when we would have had more singing, and we will. Our good friend, singer-songwriter Bruce Mandel was scheduled to appear, and we are happy to report that he has so far escaped the police dragnet. We understand he has been skipping from place to place using the underground system of covert recording studios. He sends us this greeting from the road. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our favorite outlaw, Bruce Mandel.
Thanks, David. Hi, everybody. I sure am glad to be here. Well, I'm really coming to you from an undisclosed location as I've gone underground to try to avoid being arrested by the singing police. But I wouldn't miss being a part of this show and the good cause for anything. Being that this is a radio show, I thought I would start out with a song that I wrote that is an homage to one of the many events that led me down this musical path that I have been following over the course of my lifetime. And in this case, a little red transistor radio that was a gift from my grandparents. And that first night, after receiving that gift, I fell asleep listening to music on that little radio. And I did that for many, many years thereafter as music became central to my life. I would close myself in my bedroom and spend countless hours in that room learning to play guitar and listening to the radio and playing records on my phonograph, trying to figure out how everybody did what they were doing. So I hope you enjoy. This is called Way Back When. Transistor that played the hits of the day, from the Motown sounds to the Woodstock grounds. My destiny was to play. From the first I saw her standing there through the strings of cheap guitars, my red transistor hung real tough as I learned from my favorite star. Time stood still, hours flew by, learning the letter hanky-panky and American Pie. Played those songs over and over again. Way back when Chive-dyke teas and Guthrie's keys. Music had so much to say. Time stood still, hours flew by. Learning sloop, John B. Delilah, and light my fire. Played those songs over and over again. Way back when. Dayglow posters on the wall. Ringo, George, John and Paul. Time stood still, hours flew by. Learning mellow yellow country road and ride Captain Ride. Played those songs over and over again. Way back when. Time stood still, hours flew by. Learning spill the wine, Spooky and the Israelite. Played those songs over and over again. Way back when. I learned how to play. All right. Well, I thought next I would play a love song for you, because I think what we could all use right about now is another love song. I wrote this one for Patty. Another year circling the sun. Can you believe how far we've come? Promises made for the long run, with you on my arm till the spinning is done. Lady of the Highlands, how lucky are we to watch hawks in the mountains, dolphins in the sea. Remember, wherever each of our paths may lead, we'll meet in the middle where we are complete. Another spin round the dance floor. I can see you've done this before. Promise me we'll dance till we can dance no more. A waltz, a tango with the one I adore. My lady of the Highlands, how lucky are we to watch hawks in the mountains, dolphins in the sea. Remember, wherever each of our paths may lead, we'll meet in the middle where we are complete. While there are trails I must blaze on my own, steps to be taken alone, together we are better than the sum of a part, stronger in head and heart. My lady of the Highlands, how lucky are we to watch hawks in the mountains, dolphins in the sea. Remember, however each of our paths may lead, we'll meet in the middle where we are complete. We'll meet in the middle where we are complete. So this next song is a song that I got the idea for walking down a dirt road through the woods. I often get creative while walking, and on this particular beautiful autumn day, I happened to run into a neighbor of mine. And we stopped to chat, and she exclaimed, "Boy, it's such a beautiful day. It's just like walking through a painting." And I said, I have to remember this. This is a song title. So after we chatted, I went walking, and I thought, oh, let me write a song about some of the places I really enjoy spending time. So this is that song called Walking Through a Painting. Yesterday I walked my hometown hills in the golden autumn glow, migrating birds and turning leaves, soon followed by wood smoke and falling snow. Today I walked along the beach, a white rainbow rising from the sea. My bare feet reconnect me to the earth and who I'm meant to be. Yeah, it's just like walking through a painting, beautiful in 3D. You can take it at face value or see what you need to see. Just like walking through a painting, what does the artist present as real? If you look between the brush strokes, what might that reveal? Tomorrow I'll hike the Rocky Mountains under the bluest skies I've ever seen. Breathe that sweet Colorado air in the Ponderosa pines, so green. It's just like walking through a painting, beautiful in 3D. You can take it at face value or see what you need to see. Just like walking through a painting, what does the artist present as real? If you look between the brush strokes, what might that reveal? Lately I find myself walking the colorful corners of my mind, alone with my imagination, leaving this crazy world behind, to go walking through a painting, beautiful in 3D. You can take it at face value or see what you need to see. Just like walking through a painting, what does the artist present as real? If you look between the brush strokes, what might that reveal? Oh, like walking through a painting. Oh, so beautiful. If you look, really look between the brush strokes, you just might see what you need to see. Yeah. We're walking through the painting with me. Well, I would like to leave you now with a song about perspective. This is the title track from my latest album. This is called Bird's Eye View. Magpie looking for lucky treasure, high and low, everywhere in sight. What do you see? What do you know? Magpie says, it's all black and white. Stand where you stand, see what there is to see. For where you are is where you are, not where you will be. Go where you must go when the winds of change increase. Over, under, or around, always go in peace. Hoot owl perched high up in a tree watches the world with wisdom and insight. What do you see? What do you know? Hoot owl says, shades of gray, not black and white. Stand where you stand, see what there is to see. For where you are is where you are, not where you will be. Go where you must go when the winds of change increase. Over, under, or around, always go in peace. Parrot talking up a blue streak, his words leave birds green with envy. What do you see? What do you know? Parrot says, it's a colorful world to me. Stand where you stand, see what there is to see. For where you are is where you are, not where you will be. Go where you must go when the winds of change increase. Over, under, or around, always go in peace. Over, under, or around, may you always go in peace. Back to you, David.
Thank you so much, Bruce. We'll try to scare up a few extra bucks for your bail fund. Take care out there. Now, once again, I take up my pen, faithfully and truthfully, to record life as it was once lived in Lake Mahkeenac. This is Chronicle number 248, The Secret Baptism. It was a peaceful October in Lake Mahkeenac. People were raking leaves and piling them up. Kids were jumping in them and scattering them all over the lawn, and their dads were raking them up again. Many folks were wishing they could burn those leaf piles being partial to the smell of burning leaves on a cool fall afternoon. But there has been a drought, and no one is supposed to burn anything outside. So people are hoping for rain, but then the leaves will get wet and be harder to burn. Nothing is ever perfect, even in Lake Mahkeenac. One thing that was almost perfect was Ben Carswell's retirement party. Ben is an entomologist for the state, and he has worked for decades studying bugs, giving people advice about bugs, and figuring out how to get rid of bugs without getting rid of people. But after 40 years, he's calling it quits. The party was held in the big function hall out on the highway, the one where a lot of people have their wedding receptions. They roasted a whole pig, which delighted Ben, who grew up on a farm, and they had plenty of beer and a big cake in the shape of a potato beetle in honor of Ben's research on this noxious pest. The highlight of the evening was the entertainment. Ben's granddaughter, Mara, is an up-and-coming singer, and she sang a bunch of songs, some classical and some old standards, and a few old folky tunes Ben loved, like If I Had a Hammer and Owensboro. But she ended up her set with a surprise, one that Ben had not requested. For an encore, she sang, Come, thou fount of every blessing. And she delivered it as if she cherished every word. Ben was seen wiping tears from his eyes, but no one could figure out why, it being such an upbeat and inspiring song. But this story, like any story worth telling, starts a long time ago. Ben had been raised as a Methodist in upstate New York, and even when many of his teenage friends were drifting away from church, he stuck with it because he loved singing with the old man in the choir. And then he went away to college, and he just stopped going to church. He didn't have a big rupture with God. He just walked away. His parents were still devout church people, so it bothered him a little when his college friends made fun of believers. But other than that, his leaving was like a little cloud sliding away on a summer breeze, not a big thunderclap of atheistic fervor. He went to graduate school and got married and had children of his own, and his beloved wife was a firmly lapsed churchgoer. So his kids were basically pagans. They loved Christmas and singing about the baby Jesus, but Easter was a mystery. For them, the resurrection was not even a thing to be reckoned with. It was sort of an exotic bit of other people's folk culture, like fasting for Ramadan or shooting off fireworks for Dalawi. None of this bothered Ben, or so he thought. But one day, when he was in his late 40s and his kids were off at college, a strange thing happened to him. He was fishing in his favorite fishing hole in the Catapan Creek. It was early morning on a Sunday, and the fish weren't biting, but it was a lovely spring day, and his mind drifted back to his days singing in the church choir when he was growing up. He started singing softly and tenderly in his head and then out loud. It was an old gospel song he loved. Earnestly, tenderly, Jesus is calling, calling, O sinner, come home. So he cast his line again and breathed in the beautiful day when he heard a voice say, come home. He looked around just like someone in a cartoon and saw no one there. But as he cast his line again, the voice said, again, come home. It was a rich baritone voice, a great radio voice, but it belonged to no one he could see. When the voice said it yet again, Ben said out loud, tell me more, hoping to get a little more information, but the voice did not answer. That was the beginning of a long conversation, although the voice only said one thing, come home. Sometimes Ben heard it several times a day, sometimes not for days, but the voice never really shut up. It spoke to him in the car, and sometimes when he was pulling weeds in the garden, and even in his dreams. He didn't want to tell anyone what was going on, and he knew enough biology to be able to fake some symptoms so his doctor would order up an MRI and rule out a brain tumor. Just to be funny, the voice said, come home, while he was in the scanner, but Ben did not reply on that occasion. Finally, he decided that it might be Jesus talking to him. He was skeptical, and he did not want to be mistaken for a nice Christian lady who sees Jesus' face on a piece of burnt toast. But there it was. He decided to ask his fishing buddy, Willie Schuster, whom he knew to be a devout Methodist, if this could be true. Willie snorted and said, "Gee, Ben, let's see. This started on a Sunday morning. You were singing a song where the refrain is, 'Jesus is calling,' and you haven't been to church in decades. Who else would it be telling you to come home? It's not your grandpa, it's the big boss." But still Ben was unconvinced. Why come home? I am home. I have a beautiful home with a woman I love and a great dog. I am home. Willie said, "Come to church with me next Sunday. You'll see." So Ben went to church with Willie Schuster, and he felt a great sense of relief and peace. And when he took communion for the first time in 30 years, the voice said, simply and with infinite tenderness, "Home." And never spoke directly to Ben again. The middle of this story happened some years later. Ben was now a regular churchgoer, and that was fine with everybody. His wife, Jeannie, was not, but that was okay. She'd been raised as a Catholic, and her plan was to live a virtuous life and then to repent her few sins on her deathbed, like old Lord Marchmain in Brideshead Revisited, making the sign of the cross as he was dying, and so making up for not going to confession for 60 years. While Jeannie waited for her own dramatic deathbed confession, she went power walking with her girlfriends while Ben was at Sunday worship. Ben's kids did not comment on his return to church. They took it as another of his occasional enthusiasms, like the year when he grew 10 bushels of Japanese white turnips and gave them to all his friends, and then put the rest on the street with a sign saying, "Free for the taking." They thought it would pass, like the turnips had passed. All was good. But Ben started to become concerned about his granddaughter being raised, as she was, unchurched. He spoke to his son Paul about whether or not he wanted to have his daughter baptized. Ben thought baptism, at least, was something her father could give her. But Paul's answer was a resounding no. She could believe what she pleased as an adult, Paul said, but until then she was not going to be indoctrinated. Ben was troubled, and he spoke to his minister about it and his wife, but it seemed like a done deal. It was then he conceived of the idea of baptizing Mara in secret. It couldn't hurt, or so he thought. He could bring her under God's protection while she was growing up, and her parents didn't even need to know. So he hatched his plot. One week in June, Paul came home with his family for a high school reunion, and the plan was to leave Mara with her grandparents, while Paul and his wife hobnobbed with their old classmates. Mara was a year and a half old, not really talking much yet, so Ben figured he could baptize her without her ratting him out to her dad. He asked Willie Schuster to come along to stand in for the congregation, and Willie agreed. Ben swore Willie to secrecy, and Willie agreed to that too, even as he expressed some doubt about the wisdom of the entire enterprise. But he loved Ben, and he loved Ben's grandkids, so off they went, fishing poles in hand, to show Mara the delights of fishing. They went back to the place on the Catapan Creek where Ben first heard the voice, and they got right to work. Ben brought the text for the rite of baptism, and he planned to say the sacred words and do the baptism himself, with Willie as the witness. They stood in the shallow water, and Ben blessed her and held her in his arms carefully, and bent over to scoop a little creek water on her head. Just then, a big trout swam by and then jumped right at Mara's feet. She squealed in delight, and Ben was distracted for just a moment, and she wiggled right out of his arms and disappeared. It was still spring, and the water was higher and faster than usual, and she was carried downstream, or something. Ben couldn't see her at all, and he froze. He couldn't move. He couldn't think. Then, unbidden, the words of "My darling Clementine" came into his mind. Ruby lips above the water, blowing bubbles soft and fine, and all that. He was sure she would be drowned, and "You are lost and gone forever" popped up in a thought balloon. It was probably just a second, but it sure seemed like forever. He couldn't see her anywhere, just fast rushing water heading for a few big rocks. At that moment, he was knocked into the creek himself. Willie had grabbed his shoulder and pushed him out of the way. And when Ben got halfway up, he saw Willie jumping downstream, one enormous leap after another, like a 55-year-old gazelle, going in deeper and deeper with every leap. Then, as Ben staggered to his feet, Willie plunged his hand into the stream and pulled up the little girl by her collar. She opened her eyes wide, coughed an enormous cough, and then looked up at Willie and let out a belly laugh that echoed off the rocks and trees. Then she said, "Jesus!" Ben thought that was a bit of an understatement. But Mara was at the age when she repeated every interesting new word she heard, and that word was definitely new to her. Willie lifted her up, soaking wet, and hugged her close and said, "Jesus yourself," and Ben burst into tears. They waded ashore and sat down. Ben tried to explain. "I froze. I just froze." Willie said, "I know you froze, you doofus. You're not exactly a man of action. If you were a secret agent, you'd never make it to 007. You wouldn't even make it to 003 and a half." Mara was still laughing and trying to get back in the water to get that fish. Ben wept and thanked Willie over and over. And Willie just smiled and said, "You know, my friend, I took a vow just now to love and support her as she grew in Christian love. I just didn't know I'd be called upon to step in quite so soon." He stared at the sparkling water. "Let's finish up here and get her dried off before Paul gets home." They finished up by singing together, as they had planned, "Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing," and then went home and got her cleaned up. Ben explained to Jeannie that they had a little slip and that Mara was going to be a real fisherman, considering her appetite for trout, and no one was the wiser. Ben tossed and turned for months afterward, but Willie's consolation was unfailing. "We got the job done, Ben. She'll be grateful for it." And she had a nice swim in the bargain. The end of this story is what happened at Ben's retirement party. Mara had grown up tall and strong and bright and beautiful. She was famous for having the best of luck in everything she did, but Ben knew it was more than luck. When she sang, "Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing," everyone stood and clapped, and Ben cried, and that was that. Except a little later, Ben and Jeannie and Paul and his wife and Mara and Willie Schuster and his wife Alice and the pastor were all standing around, beers in hand, everyone complimenting Mara on her singing. Pastor Bud asked, innocently enough, why she chose that particular song for her encore. Mara grinned from ear to ear and looked right at her grandfather. "Well, it's one of Grandpa's favorites. He sang it at my baptism." And she gave her grandpa a big fat wink and walked away. Willie choked on his beer and said, not quietly enough, "Jesus." Paul wrinkled his eyebrows at his father, but Ben just shrugged and said, "Kids." And Paul seemed mollified. And then it was over. But in the car on the way home, as they drove in silence, content and full of beer and cake, Jeannie said, "I know why she chose that encore. In fact, I know the whole story." Ben shrank a little and looked sheepish, but said nothing. "Willie can keep a secret," Jeannie said, "from everybody but his wife. And Alice can keep a secret, but not for very long." Ben still held his counsel. Jeannie leaned over and gave him a peck on the cheek. She said, "You, on the other hand, can keep a secret for a very long time. But if that's the worst thing you've ever kept from me, I am indeed truly blessed." Well, now, this is the time in our show when we get ready to say goodbye with one more sad, wistful song. This song is dedicated to the memory of our old friend, Julia Carter Aldrich, a former member of this church who passed away a few months ago. Julia was a minister, a poet, and a wild woman from way back, who even unto her last days in a nursing facility would wake up, put on her lipstick, and make up her unforgettable blue eyes and get to work, writing and editing her poetry for posterity. So this is for you, Julia, and for all the rest of you who are suffering in these difficult days. The song is by the legendary Stephen Foster, and it is said to have been the favorite song of President Abraham Lincoln. It's called Hard Times Come Again No More.
Let us pause in life's pleasures and count its many tears, while we all sob sorrow with the poor. There's a song that will linger forever in our ears. Oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. While we seek mirth and beauty and music light and gay, there are frail forms fainting at the door. Though their voices are silent, their pleading looks will say, oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more.
Well, folks, I have you chipped in by now. If not, you're at stockbridgeucc.org. Go to the Donate Now button to make a contribution to support the work of this old but ever new institution. Let's have a final check-in with Church Treasurer Margaret Griswold. Margaret?
We now have a grand total of $554.57 and a gray woolen peacoat, size XXL, which comes to us from Bob Hornsby. He writes, I don't want that minister to get cold, so I'm sending along $10 and this coat, which kept me warm for a long time, but it no longer fits since I bought my Peloton and dropped 100 pounds. And we thank Janet Holmes, who will give an additional $50 if she can talk to actor Christopher Brophy. We have Janet on the speakerphone right now.
Hello? Chris? Chris, are you there?
Janet? I can't believe it's you.
Oh, Chris, I just hawked my engagement ring, which I thought was a big diamond, but it turned out to be cubic zirconium, so I can only give another $50. But Chris, I also give you my sincerest apologies. Please forgive me.
Oh, Janet, how I wish I could. But when you left that dance at the Y and came back wearing Jack's ring, it was like a Leslie Gore song. I was crushed. Why, Janet? Why?
Oh, Chris, even then I knew you were headed for bigger things. I knew you would be a big star and all. Jack was just more my style then. You know, he was kind of stable and, well, ordinary, like me. And I was right, wasn't I? You did become a big famous actor, and Jack and I got married and ran Jack's Dairy Bar for all these years.
You were never ordinary to me. You were the most beautiful girl in 7th grade. You were my dream girl.
You are so sweet. It turned out I was wrong after all. You know, Jack left me a few months ago for a waitress at the Dairy Bar who looked kind of like I did when I was in 7th grade.
You're free now? You're single?
Free as a bird with a broken wing. Chris, I thought we might get together for coffee or something and, you know, maybe pick up where we left off.
Janet. Oh, Janet, yes, right now. I missed you so much all these years. Forget the donation. I want to see you right now.
Janet, you've already given online, so the donation is a done deal. You don't want to disappoint the hungry children.
I'm a hungry child. Keep the money. Chris, I'm coming. I'm coming back to you.
Well, isn't that nice? With Miss Holmes' final donation, we have a grand total of $604.57. I want to thank everyone for their largesse. Our office thermostat will now be up to 45 degrees through March, thanks to your generosity.
Thanks, Janet, and thank you all. If you haven't given yet, you can still donate at the Donate Now button. Let's have a big round of applause for all of our donors. Maestro? Well, it's time to say goodnight. I want to thank all our performers, Allison Larkin, Christopher Brophy, Jim McMenemy, Joanne Levitt, and Maestro Sandor Chabot, and of course, Nellie Rustick and Bruce Mandel, wherever he is. I also want to thank Will Garrison and Ron Hanft, and all the other people working behind the scenes to make this show happen. This is an old song I hope you all know, and I hope you'll sing along if your pod will allow it. We're going out in an old Carter family tune, Will the Circle Be Unbroken? We might even sing a little ourselves, but maybe we can get out of here before the state police arrive. Let's kick it, Maestro!
I was standing by my window on one cold and cloudy day when I saw that hearse come rolling for to carry my mother away. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in that sky. I said no to the taker, undertaker, please drive slow. For this lady you are carrying, Lord, I hate to see her go. Will that circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky.
Oh, I followed close behind her, tried to hold up and be brave. But I could not hide my sorrow when they laid her in her grave. Will the circle be unbroken. By and by, Lord, by and by. There's in the sky, Lord, in the sky.
I'd go home, it was lonesome, miss my mother, she was gone. All my brothers, sisters crying, what a home so sad and lone. Will the circle be unbroken? By and by, Lord, by and by. There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky.
Now she's gone, dears, but she's safe now, safe from earthly cares and harms. And she's waiting, Savior, to take her in his arms. Will the circle be unbroken? By and by, Lord, by and by. There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. There's a circle be unbroken. By and by, Lord, by and by. There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. Will the circle be unbroken? By and by, Lord, by and by. There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. Good night, folks. Good night. Thank you so much. Good night, everybody. Good night.